Hello, welcome to episode 20 of Full Movie Podcast, a show where we talk about that film that shook me to the very core.
Hold on a minute.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Freya.
Go on.
Well, it's a bit of a special episode today.
Yes.
Very special, in fact.
Yes.
Why don't you explain?
I will explain. Freya, what's your favourite film?
Princess Bride.
We did that on episode 1.
Yes.
Many, many moons ago.
Indeed.
My favourite film, and the film that we're going to review over the course of 2 episodes, is 1973's The Exorcist.
When 12-year-old Regan McNeil's behaviour changes drastically, her mother, actress Chris McNeil, seeks the help of doctors, psychiatrists, and finally 2 priests to save her from demonic possession.
Good synopsis, by the way.
Thank you.
Directed by William Friedkin, who also directed The French Connection, Cruising, To Live and Die in LA, The Guardian, Jade, Bug, a film I strongly recommend to everybody, and The Devil and Father and Morph. It was written by William Peter Blatty, who sadly passed in 2017. He would write the Pink Panther sequel, A Shot in the Dark, The Ninth Configuration, which he considers to be the true sequel to The Exorcist, as well as The Exorcist 3, Legion, in which he also directed. So, do you love this film?
Of course I love this film.
Why do you love this film?
Well, I love that you love this film so much.
Thank you.
But also, no matter how many times we watch it, which is at least once a year.
What day do we watch it on?
On Halloween.
Good girl, yeah.
I never get.
Has to be done.
Yeah, I never get tired of it, and there's always something that you forget, or you know, something that you pick up on, and it's just a masterpiece. And Matt, why do you absolutely adore this film?
Okay, strap yourselves in. This might take a couple of minutes. Okay,
You won't hear from me that much.
This is the reason why we're doing 2 episodes, because I have a lot to say about this, and it's nothing but praise. Okay, quick history of Matt and The Exorcist. I've said it before, when I was younger, my mum would rent a comedy and a horror film for us to watch on a Friday or Saturday night. We would watch Carry On film at 5 o'clock, and then at 7 o'clock, a couple of hours before we went to bed, we'd watch horror film. I love my mum, she's great. So I was very desensitised as a child. When I was very young, I'm talking 4, 5 or 6, I would go into school with a copy of Jay Anson's The Amityville Horror.
Wow.
My cousin was in the original Omen, so I would always be like, yay, tell me more, tell me about this. And, you know, I had books galore about horror films, and some of them were quite gory. I still have many of them in our living room stacked up.
Yep.
There was a book that I had which was about banned films across the world. And the one film that was banned the most in most countries was The Exorcist. I became obsessed with this. I hadn't seen it, and I adored it. I read the book when I was about 8, maybe 9. Didn't understand a lot of it. I put my hand up. But I would read it all the time. Began to learn about it. I had books about The Exorcist. I would listen to... there was a record. I had Tubular Bells, even though I hadn't seen the film. There was a tape-in that I had. I think I taped it off the radio, which was the late... a late director, I can't remember his name, was talking about The Exorcist, and I would listen to that. Again, I was young.
Yeah.
When it was re-released, I think in 2000, it was released at the cinemas. The night before it was released at the cinemas, there was a documentary on BBC Two called The Fear of God, presented by Mark Kermode. And that scared me. Really? The documentary.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to see it at the cinema. The first showing was at, I think it was 6:30, 7 o'clock. I watched it. It was packed theatre.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was then shown again at, I think, 9, 10 o'clock. I watched it again. Again, still quite a packed theatre. It was then shown again at around 1 o'clock in the morning. The theatre was empty, and I watched it. I loved that film so much. I saw it 3 times in the space of 7 or 8 hours.
And everyone working at that cinema was terrified of you.
Probably, yes. I then went to cinema again to see it over the next couple of days because I was just telling everybody about it. I was saying, this is the most amazing film.
Yeah.
And not many people believed me, but we watched it. In one of the showings, there was a couple of young girls who were laughing through it. And this actually angered me. For one of the first times, a film actually angered me.
Yeah.
I wanted to go over to them and be like, do you not realise how scary this is? Do you not understand? Do you want me to explain it? And I was like, no, that's not the right attitude. So I started looking into why people thought like this and whatnot. And it came down to my opinion, just my opinion, was that this was the perfect film. This has got some of the scariest scenes in it. We'll come on to my favourite scene, which is a kind of underrated, horrific, scary scene.
Subtle scene, isn't it?
Yes. But it was also, it's funny. It's so funny in parts. Lee J. Cobb as Kinderman, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And Father Dyer is hilarious in this film. And it, it's written by the guy who did a Pink Panther film. He does comedy elements. It's also so dramatic and upsetting.
Yeah.
Like, there's a film called Manchester by the Sea or Mystic River, which are horrific in the dramatic, horrible sense. And Ellen Burstyn gives those sort of performances that win Oscars these days as the mum, Chris McNeil.
Yeah.
It's such great acting. But then you have the scary, you have the truly horrific moments, which they're not particularly gory, to be honest.
No.
A lot of people will say the crucifix scene is, oh, that's horrible. It's really not as graphic as...
It's more suggestion, isn't it?
Exactly. And I find that, it's freaky. The flashing images, the subliminal images that come through, brilliant, fantastically placed.
Definitely.
It is just perfect for me, So what's your favourite scene?
My favourite scene is during the party. So at the McNeil's house. And it's kind of when the party is winding down, Reagan appears in the middle of a sing-song, and she turns to the astronaut and just says, "You're going to die up there."
That is, that's a good scene. And let me just tell you something behind that scene. Sorry, this is what it's going to be like. That astronaut isn't named in the film. No. But he's a prominent character in Ninth Configuration.
Well, actually, I mean, the notion that he's an astronaut and the significance of that line, you had to explain to me.
Yes, exactly. So the astronaut is actually called Captain Cutshaw, where basically, so she says you're going to die up there, and his character is in the Ninth Configuration. So, and it's very weird. And the third one of William Peter Blatty's, let's say, Exorcist trilogy is Legion, which is part 3, the film, which is about the serial killer.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So yes, that's your favourite scene.
What's your favourite scene?
My favourite scene, sorry, anybody who's listened to 50p Movie Club's Patreon episode, I'm going to repeat the same thing. It's the scene where Reagan has just thrown up pea soup over Father Karras.
Yeah.
He's having his jumper dried, and he's just, as he's leaving the house, he asks the mum, Chris, does she know about my mother passing? And she says, no, I haven't told her. And it's like, I'm sorry to hear that. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. And he starts to walk away. Outside, the Kinderman, the detective, is waiting in the car and watching Father Karras walk across the road. And out of the corner of his eye, he looks up. And out of the corner of his eye, he looks up. He looks up to a window, which is Reagan's bedroom, to see the silhouette of Reagan walking past the window. Now, she's supposed to be tied down to the bed. And that just shows the power that she has.
And the game that she's playing as well.
Exactly. What's your favourite line, without swearing?
I know. Well, I can't say any of my favourite lines because they all have very, very naughty words in them. So I've settled for when Father Merrin first comes to the McNeil's house, first meets Chris. Chris brings him a cup of coffee and she says, "Would you like some brandy in that, Father?" Merrin replies, "Well, my doctor says I shouldn't, but thank God my will is weak."
That's a good line. Again, it's a funny line.
You need that juxtaposition of humour to go with the kind of real horror and tension.
Yeah. My favourite line is when Father Karras basically first comes in to meet Reagan and says, "Where's Reagan?" And the demon turns around and says, "In here with us."
In that brilliant voice as well.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say we also watch the director's cut of the film.
Yes.
There's not many differences. The scene of the spider walk, which we'll discuss next time in episode 21. But I strongly recommend that everybody watch the extended edition one,
Definitely.
shall we say.
Yeah.
So, yes. Now,
why don't you give us some facts?
Oh, facts, yes, of course. I completely forgot about facts. See, this is how much
carried away with yourself.
I know. Sorry, I'm so bad at this. I get so passionate. Due to death threats against Linda Blair, not Blair, Blair,
not Blair.
from religious zealots who believed the film glorified Satan, Warner Brothers had bodyguards protecting her for 6 months after the film's release.
Wow.
Author William Peter Blatty once won $10,000 on the Groucho Marx show, You Bet Your Life. When Groucho asked what he planned to do with the money, he said he planned to take some time off to work on a novel. This is the result.
Oh, wow.
The Exorcist is the first horror film to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture.
Wow.
When originally released in the UK, a number of town councils imposed a complete ban of the showing of the film. This led to a bizarre speculation of the Exorcist bus trips, which were essentially buses that went around taking groups to the nearest town where the film was showing. Adjusted to inflation, this would be the 9th highest grossing film of all time.
Wow.
And yes, we're going to have some more facts next time.
Yes. Well, next time we're going to be delving more into the background of the film and the reception.
Yeah. So, do we have any links?
We have links.
Yeah, go on.
We do.
Get us some links.
Email us, fullmoviepodcast@gmail.com, Twitter @fullmoviepoduk, and on Instagram we are @fullmoviepodcast.
We do have a couple of reviews, but we're going to save that for next week.
Yes.
I think. Just before we go, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who is listening right now. I can't believe that we got to episode 20.
It's pretty cool.
It is absolutely amazing. We really could not have done this had it not been for Emma and Dan at Real Life Ghost Stories. Kevin at We Need to Talk About Ghosts, and also The Dark Paranormal. I need to add that.
Oh,
you
yes.
need to listen to that. Also Jerry and Lacey, who have become very, very good friends of ours since starting this.
Hardly Paranormal.
Hardly Paranormal, of course. But in all seriousness, these 5 people, thank you so, so, so very much.
Yeah, you guys have been incredibly supportive and we really, really appreciate it.
So yes, the next episode is going to be The Exorcist Part 2, not The Heretic. Just me rambling on about it for another
more
15
Matt
minutes.
declaring his love for this film.
I mean, I love you as well. But
Thank you.
The Exorcist, you know.
Comes first.
So yes, tune in on Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
So yes, we're going to do it on Saturday and have a good evening and go and watch The Exorcist.
Yes, do it now.
The power of Matt compels you.
Yeah.
I have no power here. Toodaloo, guys.
See you then.